Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's been a very long time since I've done a YouTube video, but I've been very busy lately. I've been doing a lot of projects. A lot of them are like creative and crafty, and I thought that I wanted to just start filming them because I think other people might be interested in them too. First and foremost, I am pregnant. My husband and I are expecting a baby girl in May. So at the time of filming this, I'm 23 weeks along, which is a little bit over halfway. Halfway would be the 20-week mark. Right now she is the equivalent size of a grapefruit. The app says that she's about 1.25 pounds and a little over 12 inches long. So I have a little bit of a belly here, and as the day goes on it definitely gets bigger, but I'm trying to get all of like my nursery preparation and crafting done earlier on because I know as time goes on I'm gonna get larger, I'm gonna get more tired and just not have the energy or the motivation to do it. I've been feeling really great so far. I think I've had a very smooth and easy pregnancy, which I'm very thankful for. I haven't had any negative symptoms. All of my checkups have been really healthy and positive. My only main symptom right now is fatigue. I'm very tired. I actually just woke up from a nap like an hour ago and I'll probably take another one later this afternoon. And I'm also out of breath all the time. And I don't think that's because of the size of her, because I've been out of breath since like the early beginning stages. I think it has to do with the hormones, I'm not sure. So if I sound like I'm gasping for air, I am. Oh my God, you're in the dollhouse, it's so cute. I'm sitting in the room now that is going to be her nursery. And in a minute, I'll pick my camera off the stand and do a little tour of like the projects that I've done so far. And then the one that is behind me is the one that I plan on filming today. I got this bookcase off of Facebook Marketplace. I paid $20 cash for it. So it is pre-owned and has like a couple scratches, a couple dings. I think some screws could probably be tightened in some areas. But aside from that, it is a very large bookcase. I think it's gonna fit a lot of books and even toys. Because we're having a girl, I really love the idea of combining like the femininity of a dollhouse with the bookcase and the fact that it's like educational and knowledgeable and stuff like that. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 because I feel like, yes, she can store all her books here, but then if she ever wants to, we can take the books down and pretend it's a regular dollhouse. My plans for this are, step 1, I want to take it all apart, undo all the pieces, and clean them off because they are a little grimy. You can probably see this window's covered at the top with dust and other stuff. After it's all disassembled and cleaned, I am going to paint the inside. So instead of it being white, I have just paint that I already owned. It's like a beige off-white. I think that beige color is going to be complementary to the piece of artwork that I bought for the back panel. I wouldn't call this like a cost-effective DIY project. I definitely wanted to splurge a little bit, so the materials that I bought were kind of pricey. So I wanted to cover up the gapping that is happening between these back panels, and I also wanted it to be something that when you look through the bookcase, there is a visual behind there. I went back and forth trying to decide what I wanted to put in the back. I was thinking for a while that maybe I would do something that mimicked like a wallpaper because it's a dollhouse, so I was looking at like floral patterns and other repetition patterns. But then I came across a piece of artwork where a girl had taken the 100 Acre Woods map from Winnie the Pooh, and she transformed it into like a portrait orientation, and it's very cute. It hasn't arrived yet. I think it comes tomorrow actually, but it's got the forest, it's got all the little animals, it's got some words on there, and it's got like this vintage feel to it, which I think ties in a lot with the other styles that I have going on in here. That art print by itself was not cheap. It's gonna fit pretty perfectly the back of this bookcase. I think I'll just have to cut off the tops for the shape of the roof. But it was around $83, I think, free shipping. But yeah, it wasn't a cheap thing, but I am very excited. I think it's gonna be my vision come to life, and that was the goal. So on the inside shelves, everything will be beige. It'll tie into the background of this like beige map with green trees. And then I'm going to use a green paint on the outside for the walls. And for the roof, I plan on doing like a fake cedar shake shingle. So I bought all these little wood tiles from Michael's, and I think I have to glue them all on, and then I can stain them with like a wood stain. For the sidewalls that are going to be green, I also bought from Michael's fake like dollhouse siding. It looks like regular siding, how it laps and there's like a texture to it. And then I might try to do like at the very bottom of both sides of the wall, do like a fake cobblestone just along that bottom half. and I think that'll just add like another dimension of texture and like realism to it. So I'm probably not gonna finish this project today, but I would like to get started. It's the weekend, I have the time. So I'm going to first step, take everything apart and clean it. But before I do that, I will quickly show some of the things that I've been working on in the nursery. So if you have no interest in that, you can skip ahead to this time period. First things first, this wood paneling, this beadboard all around the walls and the top trim and then the base trim, that was not here to begin with. My husband and I did that. So that's all new. And then above that, this is all stenciling. I bought a stencil off of Etsy to do the ribbon and the bows to make like this trellis effect. And then I used a separate Etsy shop to purchase the flower stencils and do 4 different colors in a repeating pattern. There are 2 main reasons why I opted to do the stenciling. First and foremost, I didn't want to do wallpaper. The room that I'm in now, when we bought the house, it had wallpaper on every wall, and getting that off was incredibly difficult. My husband did most of the work, but it left a lot of, once you peel the paper off, it left a lot of residue of glue, so you have to scrape all that off and you have to clean the walls. It was a very long and strenuous process. So by doing everything with the stencil work, it is a lot easier to later down the road just paint over it if we need to. Second reason why, I figured I would like her to have something when she's like laying down in her crib or just playing in this room, that when she looks up at the walls, they're not blank. I think the more that she has for her eyes to be drawn to, the better. So I'm very happy with how it's turning out. We're not done with the flower stencils, but it's getting there and it's tying everything together. Going along with the blue bows on the wall, I got these off of Etsy, these little doorknob handles that are bows. So my husband installed these and that was really simple, easy 5-second craft, but I think it's really cute. This is one of the main projects that I had done. I bought this fabric off of Etsy. So it's semi-sheer, you can see through, it's letting light filtration in, and then each of these flowers have been embroidered on here, so they're textured. I fell in love with this fabric a long time ago. I had it in my Etsy favorites for a while. Wasn't sure what to do with it until, you know, baby girl was coming along. So I sewed these into a pair of curtains for the windows. And then up at the top, I have, right now they're just looping over the curtain rod, but then the bows that are in front are like a separate attachment that I sewed and actually just glued onto the front with fabric glue. That way it's not like, if I had to tie every single ribbon, there's a chance that it would be lopsided when it's hanging. So it's just like another bow to tie in with the bows that are already on the wall. I got this piece of artwork at the thrift store and I think it's just, you know, obviously perfect tie-in. It's blue, there's ribbons, there's ducks because I love the animal theme. This little rocking chair is going to be my next project. This used to belong to my father-in-law and then it was gifted to my niece, and now it's gonna be our baby girl's rocking chair. So we have the liberty to change the fabric out. I think this is what I'm gonna use. It's got bunnies and berries on it and some flowers. I ordered the fabric off of Etsy, and in the listing, like the background looked a lot more cream than it does when it arrived. So it's, I don't know if you could tell on camera, it looks very pink to me. And these bunnies in the listing also were brown, and in person they're very purple. So I'm first trying to see if I can get like a better fabric that's more true to what I thought it was going to be before I dive into this project. I picked this book up from my local library. I had never really crocheted before until I grabbed this book, but it had all the instructions that I needed, and these are all the little animals that I've made so far. I'm actually trying to make every single one from the book. I think I've got like, I don't know, 5 more to go. This one here, the bear, is the only one that I didn't make. My husband did this one, but he still has to do the last leg. My plan when all of these animals are finished is I'm going to string them on garland with these wood beads in between. And that way, that's just like another piece of decor for her nursery. And then I'm also gonna use these clips so that way we can remove them one by one as needed, like as she gets older if she wants to play with them. There's my little baby bump. Hello, it is the next day. I asked my husband to disassemble the bookcase for me because I was so tired. And then after he did that, I went and took a 3-hour long nap. So we're in the next day. I cleaned all the pieces and now I'm gonna start to paint them. I bought this at Lowe's. I think it's the perfect size for what I need. So I'm gonna roll the beige color on all the inside faces of each piece. This is the green that I picked out for the outside walls of the dollhouse. It's called Easy Green. I think this is Sherwin-Williams. And then this was paint that I already owned. It's by Behr and it's called Almond Wisp. Alrighty, here we go. Ew, that's thick.
So here you see me just painting all of the pieces. I ended up doing 2 coats of paint on all of the sides, and I painted everything, both the inside and outside faces of everything, except for I didn't do the tops of the roof panels or the outside faces of the sidewalls because those were gonna get shingles or siding on them. I relocated downstairs so I have a little more space for this next part, but this is the poster that I ordered. This is the one that was around $83, and I'm trying to attach it now to the back piece of the bookcase, and it fits pretty well. I'm gonna have to cut off the top 2 corners, and there might be a little bit of white space on either side. I'm gonna attempt to use this to attach it. It's a spray adhesive. I was thinking this would be better than like a liquid glue because then that might make the poster start to bubble in areas. So I'm gonna give it my best go and we'll see how it comes out. It's hard to tell, but I also ended up taping each of the pieces together so that way it'd be easier to work with. And then I think there's less flex at the seams, so I'm hoping that won't cause like wrinkling in the poster once it's on here. First thing I did was trim the bottom of this poster, and then I started using the spray glue to attach it to the back panel. The spray ended up being really easy to use and easy to adjust. There ended up being no bubbles. It didn't create any weird warping, so this definitely worked out really well. I'll have to see how it lasts as time goes on. And then I just used the cutter to trim off the edge pieces that were going to form the shape of the rooftop.
I finished painting all the pieces that needed the beige for the inside. I ended up doing the inside of the roof also because when you look up into the dollhouse, I didn't want it to be this original pink color. The next thing I need to do is going to be very tedious. These are the shingles that I got from Michael's, and I did not realize that they were all individual rectangles. I thought they came in like lines. So I need to mark out these boards. I have a tape measure, and then I have to individually glue them all, and I looked up and people recommended using tacky glue. So once they're all glued down and they're dried, then I can come back another day and stain them. So I'm gonna get started on this.
So for the rest of this video, I'm switching to a voiceover just because as I was in the process of working on the dollhouse, I was way too exhausted to walk through all the different steps. First thing I did for these shingles was I marked out horizontal lines for where I wanted the top of each layer of shingles to start. Each tile is approximately 1 1/8 inches tall, so I spaced my lines about 1 inch apart so that way there would be a 1/8 inch overlap between layers. The first row was really simple. I just put glue all throughout the surface and glued them all down in a straight line. But when it came time to do the second row and beyond, I really only needed glue at the very top and the very bottom of where the tiles were going to be resting. I think it was very important that I staggered the tiles how I did, and that gives it more of a natural look as opposed to if they were all in straight lines, you would have those vertical seams and it just wouldn't look as authentic. After letting the roof panels dry for a couple days, I then went in with an X-Acto knife and I just trimmed out any of the pieces that were overhanging either of the sides. When it came time to do the siding, I worked my way from top to bottom and I used the exact same glue, the tacky glue that was used on the roof shingles. By working top to bottom, that helped me keep my seams looking correct, so that way the siding looked like it was lapping the way regular siding would. When it came time to do the openings, I ended up just tracing the outline and cutting that with an X-Acto knife. Since the siding pieces were a little bit too wide for the sides of the house, I made them all flush with the side that would end up being at the back of the house. So that way when I go to trim it, if it was a little jagged or rough, it wouldn't be as noticeable. I don't show it in this video, but eventually I was noticing that the tacky glue was popping off in some areas as it was drying. So I went back and I started to weight everything down, make it heavy so that way nothing was lifting, and I even used some clips on the sides to hold things together. Whenever I went to do the cutout for the door, I used this trick that I had kind of learned through TikTok where I just put glue along the edge, I pushed the siding into it, and then that gave me a little pattern of where to cut. So I just followed that and it came out pretty good. The last pieces at the base, I ended up trimming them a little bit so that way there would be some space for my fake cobblestone veneer around the foundation. And after all of the siding was glued on and dried, I went in with my X-Acto knife and I trimmed the edges, and then I went back and I did some light sanding to make sure that there wasn't any harsh edges or splinters. Once the siding was on and it was dry and looking good, I went in with some more of the Kills primer to prime the wood. I think that this step is very crucial. If I hadn't done this and just went straight in with paint, it would have taken me many layers to get the color that I needed. So then after all the priming was done, I just went in with 2 coats of my green paint on all of the pieces. I also followed the same method with doing primer and paint on that little triangular piece that goes on the front of the bookcase. Once the shingles were fully dried and I had some free time, I was ready to sit down and start staining them. I used a paintbrush to dip into the stain and apply it to the wood, and then immediately I was wiping it off with a rag because I didn't want it to be too dark. I wanted a very light tint. The color that I ended up using for this was Early American by Minwax. It was just one that I already had on hand, but I think it dried really nice. And I don't show it in the video, but at the very end, I stained the underside of the shingles that were overhanging the roof. So that way, if you looked up into it, you wouldn't see the original color hanging off the edges. For this fake cobblestone wall, I had seen a video on Pinterest that showed me how to do it, and I thought that it was very helpful. So I will be linking it in this video. So I went to the store and I bought a carton of eggs, and then I started ripping that carton into different shapes and sizes of what I thought the cobblestone should look like. Once I had all my pieces ripped up, I used the tacky glue and I just glued them kind of like a puzzle, just fitting them in wherever they pieced together well. I did that on both sides of the dollhouse, so after the tacky glue was dry, I then went in with the Kills primer and primed the egg cartons as well. Once the primer was dry, then I went in with paint. And I didn't film the entire process, but it involved a lot of layering of colors. I started with a base, then I would go in with some highlights and some low lights. I even painted the cracks a lighter color to make it look like grout. I ended up even trying to darken the top and bottom parts of the wall to kind of mimic water staining. And I got a lot of these ideas from that Pinterest video that I watched. I'm very happy with the final product. I think it looks so good. I think it looks realistic, and it just adds a lot of character. I had bought these rectangular shingles from Michael's, and they were wood, and I had painted them and primed them, but I didn't like the way that they ended up looking with the curved windows. So with some help from my husband, I went in and I modeled, and I ended up 3D printing some curved louvered shutters. To add some additional character, I also went online and I ordered this wood decorative trim that I put along all the roof edges. So for the louvered shutters and the wood decorative trim, I used spray paint to do primer over them because there's so many little details. I thought it would take way too long to use a paintbrush. After primer, I did a generic purple spray paint across everything to help get into all the crevices. Then I went in and hand painted with the very specific shade of purple that I wanted. Finally, when the paint was dry, I just went in with a coat of polyurethane on all the pieces to give them a little bit of a shine and also give them more durability. The next day, I ended up gluing the shutters and the trim to the house, and until the glue was drying, I had to tape everything together. The tacky glue worked well for the wood trim that goes at the top of the roof, but for the shutters, I noticed over time they were starting to fall off, so I ended up doing those with hot glue later on. The final detail that I decided to do was these 3D printed planter boxes. They were very easy to model and print because they were just rectangles. So once they were printed, I did a spray paint of primer, and then I painted them with 2 coats of white, followed by some decorative blue wood striping. And then I bought this little bunch of fake florals at Joann Fabrics. I cut that up and used hot glue to just adhere them to the boxes. So after many hours, this is what the final product looks like. It definitely took me way more than a day. I'd say it took a couple weeks with the spurts of time that I worked on it. I forgot to mention that the paint that I used for all the shelves was a matte paint, and I noticed over time it was starting to scuff here and there, so I didn't show it in the video, but I did use a gloss spray on all the inside faces to make it a little more durable. I also did some purple trim using balsa wood on the front faces of the shelf, and that kind of hid the original white color and grain, and it also just tied into all the other purple elements. The last thing I wanted to do for this was to crochet these little Winnie the Pooh characters and turn them into bookends. So here's the progress of that so far. And this is her bookcase with all of her books that she received from the baby shower. I think it looks so cute. I'm so excited for her to get some use out of this and to read to her every night. Thanks so much for anyone who decided to watch this video. I have a couple more that I'm going to be working on getting out that were nursery crafts that I finished, but I'm getting towards the end of my pregnancy now and I'm very tired, so no promises.